and they're like, yeah, you're going to only get this person. So, and I'm noticing a trend. It's we haven't been able to get Customs Director Ike Pareto. We haven't been able to get Chief Ignacio on the show. And I don't know what the reason is, but we found a chief.
Oh.
Yeah, so I got a chief here, and I want to bring on former Chief J.I. Cruz of the Guam Police Department. Chief, thanks for joining us this morning.
Hi, Chief.
Hi, good morning, Chris. Good morning, Sabrina. How's everybody this morning?
We're doing pretty good. Happy Police Week. I guess just first of all, do you have a message out there to the rank and file, the men and women in blue?
Well, actually, Chris, if I'm not mistaken, I know that I'm not mistaken, but National Peace Officer Memorial Day was last week, Friday.
Right.
Correct.
It's every day, right? On that specific day. So historically, the way Police Week works out is that Police Week is on that week of National Peace Officer Memorial Day. And if I'm not mistaken, Chief Ignacio and the acting police commander, Major Manny Chong, did a 1 minute 46 second video, right?
Tribute.
In that regard,
right?
That tribute. I think he announced that Police Week.
We played that tribute on the show, Chief. Yeah.
Right. So he said that Police Week was from the 10th to the 16th. So I think we're kind of a week behind, but nonetheless, it's honoring the police officers during that time frame. So you are correct with that. That it's the time to honor those police officers. For those who have paid the ultimate price, made that ultimate sacrifice in the line of duty, and for those that have are going to be recognized throughout the year, Police Week is a time to recognize those officers as well.
Mm-hmm. There's been this issue, and we would ask the Chief Ignacio if we could get him on the show about his thoughts, and so we can't. So what are your thoughts on the whole issue of double pay? Because we do have one lawsuit that has officially been filed by Attorney Tom Fisher. Yeah, and it was a police officer.
And I don't know, I just think it's kind of weird that Chief Ignacio, and I understand it is what it is.
And Ignacio was named in the lawsuit.
Yeah, he doesn't want to come out and because he doesn't want to be put on the spot. We had the fire chief, Dan Stone, and we put him on the spot. And, he was wiggling and dancing and trying to do everything to avoid saying, yeah, I believe the firefighters deserve the double pay because the governor is very clear on that stance. And so, anyway, so where do you stand on it, Chief?
Well, Chris and Sabrina, I always ground myself back to what is the law saying? What are in the rules and regs? And when I go back to the rules and regs and I look at, the DOA rules and regs, in particular, Section 8.406, it clearly states it there. Now, again, and you guys have mentioned it, the AG has opined and he's given his opinion on that matter, and he says that they don't rate it. I mean, I'm just reading back. I'm not a lawyer. So, what I will say is, based on my read of this and talking to many police officers out there, because I still talk to them, they call me up, they message me, they believe it, that in reading this, yes, they feel that they would rate that double pay as well. And I'm just going off of this. And if I was still in that position, this is something that I would take to my, I'd have to go back up to Adelu and have that discussion and fight that fight with them and figure this piece out, because my message to the governor, if I was in that position, would be, Governor, this is what the officers are reading, and it's difficult. So I understand where the police officers are coming from. I understand where the AG is coming from. But with regards to legal opinion, Chris, you know how the saying goes, right? If you ask 10 lawyers for their opinion, you're going to get 10 different opinions. And it's really up to, eventually it'll have to go to the court. So, that's just an opinion from the AG.
Right.
But if the police officer decides to take, retain a lawyer and take this to court, then that's his right.
Right.
But he's going off of what he reads in 8.406.
Let's just be clear, Chief. The police officers, they're not idiots. They know what they're entitled to. They know what they're supposed to get. And so when they didn't get it, what did you think was going to happen?
Absolutely. And I got to tell you, this is something, in talking to many of the police officers, this is something that from the onset, they knew this was going to surface. Everybody was looking at each other and talking to each other, saying, "This is a disaster." And when you read what's in the books, what's in the law, and you read what executive orders are out there, everybody's looking at each other. How does this tie back to what is our hourly wage now? What are we going to get paid as we work through this pandemic? Because we're told we have to work through it. Mm-hmm. And whether it was going to be overtime that they were looking at, and then somebody dug down and saw 8.406 and said, well, no, based on the conditions here and the declaration, it's actually double time. Then the conversation picked up even more. So the police officers have been monitoring this since the onset. Mm-hmm. This is something they've been chattering about for a while, Chris.
Right.
Not
right.
just
and the fact that there is this emergency session scheduled for this afternoon. 3 bills have been introduced. Public hearing, no need for that. We're just going to go in and discuss it. And you're talking about all these people that are impacted by this, and they're not even being allowed to talk about any of these bills or provide their input on any of these bills before the legislature.
Serena, I wholeheartedly agree. Every bill is supposed to have its day with the public so that the public can give their input. So I agree that the police officers and many of them that have messaged me or called me asking me, what I thought about it. I said, should this bill get it today, you guys got to sound off. You got to let our lawmakers know how you feel. Because guys, I'm talking to them. I said, guys, we already know what the deal is, right? We're the ones that, having served before, you guys are out there. And when you really think about it, Chris, yes, our doctors and nurses, frontliners, they're dealing with this. They deal with the exposure and so on and so forth. But imagine those police officers and firefighters, and everybody said it. They're the ones truly on that front line. They respond to calls for services. They go into people's homes to deal with the police service that the community needs, and they don't know what they're dealing with.
Chief, Chief Ignacio has been a rank and file, officer in blue, so I know that he has. I don't know if he's gotten the double pay, but I'm pretty sure he's very familiar with it. So I wanted to ask, how does it affect the morale of the department when the chief of, whether it's fire or whether it's police or customs or whatever, when the chief isn't actively going to bat for his guys?
Well, I'll tell you, from the perspective of senior management, it's going to impact morale. Now, I'm not throwing darts at the chief right now, okay? But what I am saying is, one of the ways that you mitigate issues like that, Chris, is you go down into the rank and file, and you let them know what's going on, or at least you muster your command staff and you let them know what's going on, and then you give directives to take that information down to the lowest level, because that's what's going to address that, so that they know somebody's dealing with this. Now, in a situation as important as this, what I would have done, and I've done this before, and I can say this, I'm just not saying, I'm not armchair quarterbacking this thing.
Armchair police chiefing?
Armchair police chiefing, right. When I had to deal with 4043, you remember that whole lawsuit thing where they went from 40 hours to 43 hours, and then that lawsuit got slapped on the government of Guam, and the police chief had to pay that out to everybody? Mm-hmm. That was something that was important enough for me to go to all the precincts, bring everybody in at the change of shift, and talk to them about it and say, this is what we're doing. We're looking for the money and blah, blah, blah. Something as serious as this I think, requires management, somebody, the acting police commander, the police chief, somebody to go down there and just explain to the officers, hey guys, this is what we're doing. This is what's happening. This is the situation. I feel, in listening to the officers and getting their messages, that they're kind of they're told to work, they go to work, but they don't know what's going on. So that anxiety in their minds is it continues to fester. And that's why they turn to the GFT, they turn to private attorneys to try and figure it out for them, because they don't know what's going on. So I think that, and again, I'm not throwing darts at management. That's not what I'm doing. What I am saying is, when I was the chief, that's how I would have navigated that situation, to be able to let the troops know, here's what's going on. And even absent something serious like this, for me, something I picked up from being in the military, it's always good to do what's called battlefield circulation. You just get out on 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 a regular basis, whether it's once every 6 months, which is when I try to do it, and get out there and just talk to them about the issues they're experiencing. That pays dividends back to management and the chief executive when you want to listen to what's going on. And you don't bring in first line supervisors, you don't bring in mid-level management. It's just you, somebody to take notes, and the troops, and you hear what's going on.
Well, I've seen the pictures, your pictures on Instagram, so I know that you've been out there meeting with the troops. So are you hearing? Is that what you're hearing? That the senior management isn't out there checking on them?
Well, I'm hearing that they're wondering what's the deal, what is the situation, and many people have put it out there.
No memos or anything been sent out.
As far as
heard of?
That I've heard of, I haven't heard of anything just yet. And again, I'm not trying to beat up management over there. All I am saying is, as I talk to these folks, they're wondering what's the deal with this and what's the deal with that.
Right.
So I've asked them, hey, have you guys heard anything? They said, well, chief, we're still waiting for the information to come down. I said, okay, I'm sure the management will put something out at some point. And my message to them is, hey guys, just hang in there. Just do what you need to do. You guys swore, you raised your right hand. This is what we got to do. I understand. I hear what you're saying. At some point, some information will come out, and then you guys will take it from there.
Yeah, I don't think you're throwing darts. I mean, I think the shots have already been fired with this lawsuit. So I think you're all right.
Just real quick, everybody, hold on, give me a sec here. Hey, we're KUAM FM, Agotnia, Guam. This is the KUAM News containing COVID takeover, Guam's favorite I-94. Good morning to our viewers on KUAM TV 11. On the line right now, we have former police chief Joseph Cruz, who's also running for senator. I wanted to ask you, Chief, because I don't think we have had the chance to ask you, and this is one of my favorite subjects in the whole world, the Mandana Drug Task Force. This Mandana Drug Task Force was maligned, was maltreated, they
called it political.
Right. And so now I don't know what we're doing to combat the importation of these hard drugs into our island. I don't know what we're doing. I don't know. I've talked to rank and file officers who are just dumbfounded at the decision to dismantle the Mandana Drug Task Force. And I mean, it is what it is. They're very suspicious of that move.
And just so we're clear, right, the Mandana Drug Task Force, this was a multi-law enforcement agency task force. So you had people from DOC, from Customs, from GPD, and maybe even some federal counterparts. Is that correct, Chief? And so when this new administration took over, they kind of did away with that. Supposedly the director said, we want our people back. And now this task force, supposedly it's still in place, but it's now just handled over by SIS, right? Was that your understanding?
As I understand it, Sabrina, yes, you are correct. It's a multi-agency task force that was put together by an executive order, and it brought together GPD. So it was housed with the Guam Police Department, but it included Guam Customs and Quarantine, Department of Corrections, the Airport Police, the Port Police, and we even had agents from the Drug Enforcement Agency and agents from Homeland Security Investigations. That's part of DHS. And they were all embedded, and they worked together to do street-level interdiction of narcotics on our island. So, that's what it was. Now it's morphed, for lack of a better term, and now it's the Special Investigation Section. And what I'm hearing through the news sources and media, yes, those directors asked for their personnel back, so they sent them back, and so on and so forth. So to your point, what's being done? Again, it's as I understand it, and in talking to some of the officers, SIS is the answer to that. That's the Guam Police Department's response. As I've been told, they're still doing drug interdiction. I don't know what that entails. I don't know how many people are involved in that, but they are still
not
actively. But I'm not privy to that.
Yeah, Chief. I mean, to me, it just seems like all the ICE dealers are having a big party the last couple of years.
I don't know.
I mean, I could just see them popping bottles when that Mandana was disbanded. They were just like, "Yeah, we did it! Pop, 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 pop!"
You know what I would tell you, Chris, is that when the resident agent in charge puts out in the media that the going price for a gram of crystal methamphetamine is anywhere between $75 to $100 per gram, when back when the MDTF was in place, it was anywhere from $350 to $400 up to even $800 a gram. That kind of tells you that, you know, it's just that law of it's a principle in economics, right? You know, the streets are flooded, and that's why the prices are so low. And again, that's unsolicited from somebody from a federal law enforcement agency. So,
yeah.
You know, I mean, and that's not my words. That's a federal law enforcement agency saying this is the deal. And when they talk to people out there, they go out there and they do their work. That's what they're seeing. So, again, is it because of the disbandment of the MDTF? You know, I'm not saying it is. I'm not saying it isn't.
Chief, I mean, what's different, right? What's different? What's different is there's no Mandana Drug Task Force.
And just with Mandana, do they go through specialized training or get certifications to be on Mandana, or do they bring to the table these special certifications?
What happens is each officer that's going to be part of that task force is screened. When I was there, I made sure that, you know, we go through and we do a check and we ensure that the officer is fit for that kind of duty. So we kind of do a check, make sure everything's straight, and then we do put them through a gamut of some basic narcotics investigation, and we get them up to speed. Because when you conduct narcotics investigations, obviously it's a whole new different type of investigating crimes. So they do bring to the table special skill sets that make them good narcotics officers, and then we build on top of that. When I was there, whenever funding was available through asset forfeiture funds, we would send people off to get some of this more specialized training. So we kind of built that so that we were getting the right person in there with the right skill sets, with the right training and education to be able to go in there and do drug interdiction. So those are the kinds of things that we were taking a look at to make sure that the people, the officers in the task force were suited for that. And that's what we did to build that.
Do you know if the people that are in the SIS have that sort of training and background?
Again, Sabrina, I don't know who's in the SIS.
Yeah, I don't either. They could possibly.
More than likely, I would assume that, you know, it would be prudent to assume that they did due diligence to make sure that those officers that are there are suited for that, and that they can go forth and do that, because it's very interesting. It's challenging work. It's a different kind of police work that you would do when it comes to narcotics investigations.
But SIS, is that part of CIS? I mean, SIS, is that like they do property crimes, they do, you know, all these different responsibilities, or is it SIS, drug investigations? When
I first became the chief, and even before, when I was in the police department the first time, SIS was always in play. Special Investigations Section is one of several sections under Criminal Investigations Division.
Okay.
So it's a section within a division that falls under a bureau. So Investigations Bureau, of which there are 3 bureaus in the Guam Police Department. There's Operations Bureau, Investigations Bureau, and Services Bureau. SIS falls in under Investigations Bureau. So that bureau has Criminal Investigations Division and Forensic Science Division. So you have 2 divisions, and under CID, that division, you're going to have juvenile investigations, criminal investigations, special investigations.
Okay.
And that's, you know, and that's just in an organizational chart, and anybody can see that. So I'm not putting out anything that's classified or confidential.
Correct.
It's you know, it's the org chart of GPD, and anybody can view that. So SIS is a section under a division under a bureau.
Right. Well, Chief, I'm just going to call it like it is. I think the dismantling of the Mandana Drug Task Force was a political move. I think that they stepped on some powerful people's toes, and those powerful people got into power, and they were like, nope, Mandana, you're done, son. And then we had other people who were seeking to malign the Mandana Drug Task Force, and I just feel like those people, and we all know who they are, I feel like they were representing the interests of drug dealers. I don't know. Call me crazy, call me a conspiracy theorist, but I put the two and two together. It makes sense to me. I'm not going to ask you to comment on that, but you were kind of out of time. But I do want to thank you for providing the perspective. And, you know, you kept apologizing about throwing darts, but I think it's important for us in the media to provide these different perspectives. And if we can't get Chief Ignacio for whatever reason to come on, then there's a void there that we're going to fill with somebody who has similar or relevant experience. We're not being political. You know, I mean, there's about 4 to 5 other former chiefs that we could get on at any given point in time. And so I don't think you need to apologize for, I mean, you got the same rights as we do to sit here and discuss, you know, all these matters which are open and before the public on any given day.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Chris, and I appreciate that. And again, the whole idea was I didn't want you or your listeners to think, oh, you know, J.I. is just armchair.
Yeah, we called you, in other words. Yeah, so, thank you. Thank you, Chief.
No problem. Thank you, Chris,
right.
Sabrina. You guys take care. Please be safe. You know, and God bless everybody over there. Thank you.
And
Take
wash
care.
your hands. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
811, good morning on you. The show is proudly brought to you by it's containing COVID. And it's proudly brought to you by Cabo Enterprises, Ambrose Inc., IT&E, Coast 360, and the Bank of Guam. Let's do it. Let's dive into the day's COVID-19 headlines. You want to do that, or you want to take a break?
I'm ready. We can do it.
Leah, let's just do a break, Fluid. 812 from the KUAM News team. Good morning, Sabrina.